'cause one will last forever. A burden that can never ever ruin all the laughter. Tell me why you've been leaving me home when you're out late. This happy ever after makes me wanna chase her down.
Then stop.
Good afternoon and a very warm welcome here to Windsor Park for a brand new club feature called Matchday Live, brought to you in partnership with our sponsor, Bet McLean. Just before we get started, I'd just like to let you know about the sponsors for this afternoon's game. Our match sponsor is Robert Neal Wines and our match ball sponsor is MJ Painting Contracts. Now I would just like to take this opportunity to welcome our two guests today. Firstly, Matthew, thanks very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
Tell us a little bit about what you're doing with yourself now outside of football.
Very little, to be honest. Obviously, I stepped away from ads in the end of December, beginning of January. Doing a little bit of work with the IFA. Andy Waltworth got me involved with that, and I'm enjoying that, to be honest. And taking a break from senior management, certainly for this season, and possibly the foreseeable future if nothing grabs my fancy. I'm happy enjoying time, believe it or not, with the wife and the two boys, and trying to get as many holidays in as I can.
Just how much time then do you need for a little recharge when you have something like that coming off the back of a managerial appointment?
I honestly don't know. I rushed into really the art job a week after leaving Portadown, so that I probably shouldn't have done that. It's easy to reflect now, but it's all consuming. Basically, I left home at 16 to be a player, retired from playing, thought I was going to get a break and stepped straight into obviously assistant manager initially with Warren Point, and straight into management there. And I haven't had a break, and I felt it was deserving to the family as well as myself, to take time off. And I'll be honest, I'm not missing the day-to-day of being a manager. Like I said, it is all consuming, 24/7. Things like this I do like doing. I like talking about football. People that know me, I've got an opinion on pretty much everything. I'm delighted to be down here for the first of this, and I think this is a great feature that the club are putting on, and I think it'll be a successful feature, and hopefully I get to do well today and come back on in the near future as well.
We have a video here coming up of some of your goals that you scored from your time at the club.
That won't take too long.
Do you remember that moment well there against Cliftonville?
I do, yeah, and I'm still a little bit of goosebumps here watching it. It was a big game for us, New Year's Day. I came to the club obviously in the summer, as a kind of, I suppose, a big signing that year, and I spent the first half of the season out injured. Came back in on Boxing Day here against the Glens, and we managed to beat them. Went to Glenavon on the 28th, got my first goal, and that game was that was the 28th. Played then on New Year's Day, scored them two, and then followed it up with this hat-trick the next game against Coleraine. And you think, right, that's me up and running away, and I kind of went on a good run for that month, but injury hit again, and I suppose that was the story of my time here. Goals when I played, but too often probably sat in the south stand watching the boys and trying to encourage them from there. But look, I love my time here, and I'm kind of proud seeing them goals, because it's always good to see yourself scoring goals as a centre forward.
We're also joined by Linfield chairman today, Roy McGivern. Roy, thanks very much for taking time to join us this afternoon.
Thanks, Stuart. It's always great to be back at Windsor Park, the start of a new season, our first home game today. So a lot of anticipation around the place. Good win last week at Ballymena, so I think hopes are high that we can get a win here today and get another 3 points. So,
well, before we get started on our Matchday Live experience here, we just want to let you know about our Bet McLean sponsor today. They're running a special boost price on a Matchday special. For Linfield to win and both teams to score, it should be 7-5, but it's now 5-2. So if anybody would be interested in that, head down to Bet McLean and you'll certainly be able to put your bet on. Okay then, folks, we'll move on to last week's results then. Was there anything stood out for you? Roy, I'll come to you first.
I think, to be honest, the only result I look out for is Linfield's game. I wasn't at Ballymena last week, but very pleased to get a 2-0 win. It's always a tough place to go. So I think it was important. I think it's always important in your first league game to put down a marker, get a good win. I think the team played very well. After the European setback, I think it was equally important to get a good result. Of the other games, I mean, the one game I watched was the Glentoran Crusaders game on the Friday night. Didn't think it was a great game, to be honest. Been a lot of changes at both clubs during the summer. I thought the Crews probably just edged that game, and I think they'll be tough to beat again this year. New manager there, a few new signings up front. But outside of that, nothing really stood out for me.
Yourself, Matthew?
No, I don't think there was any surprise if you looked at the results. I think, outside of Linfield, it was a great result. Up at Ballymena, it's tough, and I think Jim's done well in his recruitment over the summer. Probably the other game that I was interested in watching was Carrick against Glenavon. Both kind of, I think Stuart's done a brilliant job since he's gone in. I think now, with the signings they've brought in, I think they should be pushing for the top 6. So it was interesting to see how they started, and I think they were comfortable in their 2-0 win. Like Roy, I watched the Crusaders and Glentoran game on Friday night, and I wasn't overly impressed, to be honest, by neither team. If Crusaders won the game, and I think that going away from home, they'd be delighted with that. And then I watched Portadown and Cliftonville on Sunday afternoon, and I thought Cliftonville were comfortable, but it was 1-0, and I thought Portadown put up a good show, and I think that should bode well for them. Certainly looking forward to today's fixture. Home back in the league and playing against Glentoran, who traditionally have been a big rival of theirs. But I thought the way they set up and they looked organised and well disciplined. So I suppose, was it a surprise that they got beat? Obviously not. But I thought they had a chance to get back in the game late on. But I don't think any of the results surprised anybody last week, being honest.
We'll move on then to the highlights of the Linfield match that you both talk about there. Our 2-0 win away to Ballymena United. Chris McKee broke the deadlock. Matthew, how important is it for a striker to get off the mark so early on in the season?
Massively. Look, as a centre forward, you go into the season and you want to get that first goal, right? And the sooner it comes, the better. Obviously, I touched on my Linfield career here, and it took me till 28th of December to score the first goal. So that was, you can imagine the burden that was on my back at that stage. Chris to get off the mark, first game off and running, that should give him confidence now for the rest of the season. And I think it's going to be a big season for Chris.
And Roy, as we've seen there, Joe Cooper filed for the penalty, and of course Chris Shields steps up, makes no mistake to make it 2-0.
Yeah, Joel has looked sharp in pre-season. I've watched a few of the games, certainly the game at the Welders, where I think he scored a hat-trick. Looked really, really sharp, back to his best. So hopefully that carries on in the new season. Chris, missed a big penalty in Europe, which obviously cost us, but Chris Shields being the player he is and the character he is, no problem for him stepping up again. I think if Chris McGee had been on the pitch, Chris might have taken the penalty, but Chris Shields stood up very confident, solid away, and I think that made it comfortably in 2-0.
The other massive talking point in the game was the Josh Carson tackle on Ethan McGee. What was I know we can probably look at it now, what was your thoughts initially when you seen that?
Well, obviously I was listening on the radio and they seemed to think it was a straight red card, there, and then I've seen the still and everybody can see it. It looked a shocker, doesn't it? My problem with still images,
they make it look a lot worse.
Yes, because look what it is, right? You don't see where the balls move, how quickly things gone, and I still haven't seen the full live coverage of it, as in the moving pictures of it. So that picture's shocking. Look, it looks like it could broke his leg or anything, and I know retrospectively they've given him a 3-game ban. I wouldn't be a great fan of just doing that off a still picture. I'd need to see the whole thing. And clearly it was a bad tackle. Josh came out and apologised.
Yeah.
Straight away after the game he said, look, I've seen it. And it was a bad tackle. I went for the ball and I've mistimed it. He's went over the top of the ball and stuff. At the end of the day, it was reckless, regardless, and I don't know if Roy's going to touch on it. And I know Lee Tuinda came out and he said if VAR and all the rest of it, right? I'm not a great fan. I don't think VAR should be introduced into our league or any league. I don't like it. But the point is, Lee has 3 other people to help him. He's 2 linesmen and a 4th official, right? The 4th officials are that busy worrying that the manager's having a drink a centimetre outside of his technical area rather than actually watch the game and help Lee. The linesman has to have a clear view of that it's on the touchline.
Yeah.
Why is he not seeing that? Give him help. Referees, we all know about referees. I would probably more than most, but I tried not to because I understand it's a difficult job.
That was the one thing I was going to touch on. The referee, in my opinion, didn't have a really good view of it. That's not a criticism of him alone. It was more the 4th official had a clear eyesight of it, and I don't know what the procedure is with it, but I thought he probably could have communicated it, because at the time I didn't even think the referee gave a foul initially.
Yeah, it's a very bad tackle, and that's not a great image. I know George Carson fairly well, and that's not the sort of player he is. So I think, as Tippy said, it was fairly reckless. So I think all you want to see in the game is honesty. So I think the referee has realised afterwards that he's made a bad mistake. He's put his hands up, and retrospective action is being taken against the player with a 3-match ban. So I think that's the right thing. That should happen, I think, in all games. Not just Linfield games. It did happen here a few years ago to us. I think Christy Manzinga was punished, got a yellow card, and the referee decided probably that should have been a red. I think he got a 3-game ban retrospectively. So I think that's the way to go, but it needs picked up in all games, and I think Tippy's right. The 4 officials should be all working together to try and take that decision on the day of the game at the time, and not have to deal with it afterwards, but that doesn't always happen.
I think the one thing that annoys people is probably the consistency of the retrospective ban, and if you're going to do it, at least show consistency throughout the whole league with it, to try and stamp it out if there's any skullduggery or whatever you want to call it going on. But it's the consistency of it would probably be the main point, or the main disappointment with players and managers alike.
Are they going to look every week at every little decision? I don't know that, but I suppose a question to both of you guys, right? If he deems that worthy of a yellow card, right, he must have seen it, because you can't just hand a yellow card just because. If he hasn't had a good enough view of it, why is he given a yellow card? That would be my question. Somebody has either told him that's a yellow card, because if he's saying I didn't get a clear view of it, why has he booked him?
Well,
it would be a question I would be asking, right? If somebody's told him you've to book him, they've seen it, they can't have decided that was a booking. If they've seen that tackle as is, that's a red card tackle. I'm not here to throw Josh under the bus or to throw the officials under the bus. You can't be both things. You can't have not seen it, and you can't have seen it enough for a yellow card. It's one or the other. It's a red card. It's a red card.
It's just, I'm only bringing it up when we're touching on it today, just because it's very unlike a ban to be given out after the initial incident.
But that's my point. I suppose I'm trying to say is, if he hasn't seen it, how can he be booked?
I think all we can presume is that someone has given him the advice, whether it's a 4th official or someone else, that's a yellow card. I think, speaking to our fans who were sort of right in front of it, it was a clear red from that side of the ground. So the assistant on that side should have called it, I think, and given the advice that it's a red. But I think that sometimes is an issue that the 4 officials don't communicate very well. I think that needs to be addressed.
Okay, folks, we're just going to take a wee short break here. But first, I'd just like to remind you all of the new warm-up tops that are on sale on linfieldshop.com, and also in the mega store at this afternoon's game.
That's it off for a minute.
Nice wee plug there at the end, but
Right, back in your spot.
You say you're into me, I'm who you want me to be. I'm easy to please, I'm into you.
So 5.
Okay, folks, welcome back to Matchday Live. Again, where I'm joined by Matthew and Roy. We've got the team lineups in, and the Linfield team, it's the same starting 11 with the only change in the bench is Stevie Fallon's out and Charlie Allen comes in. Your thoughts then on that, Roy? We'll start with you first.
Yeah, I think it's good to keep the same starting 11 from last week. Have a bit of consistency there. The boys played well last week, so I think that's just reward for them. Fantastic to see Charlie Allen back in the squad. I think it was really exciting signing for the club. I mean, we all know when Charlie left here, he was probably one of the best prospects to lead Northern Ireland in a long time, and I heard he did fairly well at Leeds. So probably a bit surprised that he's come home, but I think it's a great opportunity for him. It's great for the club here that he's back, and hopefully he has a good impact over the next 2 seasons and gets himself a move again, hopefully. But the squad's looking strong there today. Plenty of options for David from the bench, so fingers crossed we can get a good result here.
Yeah, look, team won last week. You know, everybody says you keep a winning team, and it is good to see Charlie back. Good to see him back within our league. I think. I know before he went, he was a brilliant prospect, and I used to chat to David regular about him, and he was really excited about him. Obviously breaking through here, and then went over there. So it's good to see him back, and I was pleased to see Stevie Fallon back last week, and obviously I hope he's just been rested today because he's had such a long time out and a horrific time with injuries. We need, as a Linfield fans, they want to be seeing Steve on the pitch because we know the quality he's got. So with a little bit of luck and hope, from my point of view, he's only resting today because he'd obviously made his comeback last week, and the manager is in his game time.
Dungannon Swiss, our opponents today. What sort of challenge awaits the club today, given that the last time they came to Windsor, they came away with all 3 points and a 2-1 win?
I think Rodney's gone back in. He settled in last year. He's come here. He had a great result, and I think he'll be using that again today. I think they're a good team. I watched, obviously, albeit it was only highlights against Coleraine last week, but they had a lot of good chances, and the boy Leo Alves looked lively. I didn't realise the age of him. He's 36, but he looked really sharp and lively. And I think they've 2 front players, Andy Mitchell and John McGovern, that could cause problems today. And you'd be looking from Linfield's point of view, they'll have to keep them 2 quiet all day.
Yeah, they're a team that has caused us problems in recent seasons. Won here last year, I think 2-1. So they're a young side, but they play good football, play the right way. So I'm expecting a tough game here today. And I think Rodney always puts out a strong team here. So hopefully we can win, but I say it's not a foregone conclusion.
Roy, on to yourself then. What sort of expectations then does the club have this season?
I think any season starting, I think the expectation is that the team will try and win the league title. Listen, that's a starting point here at Linfield every year. Matthew will know that from his time here as a player. We're expected to challenge for the main trophy. So 2 years now without the league title is probably a long time at Linfield. I think last year we came really close. Ran Larne, going into the split, I thought we were in a really strong position, but those first 2 results, probably killed us. The draw at the Oval, and then the late goal here for Coleraine. So I think we're in a strong position, but listen, we have to go out and do it on the pitch. Other teams have invested in the season. Larne are looking strong again, doing well in Europe. So I think it's going to be a close title race, but the expectation is that Linfield will be right up there, challenging for the league title and indeed for other honours.
The squad changes then this season. There's been a few players that have come and go. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so we've brought in 4 players so far. Obviously, we've reinforced the defence. I think Sam Roscoe coming back is a big signing for us. Sam has been here. Knows what it's all about to be a Linfield player, so I think that'll help us. But I think it's important that we brought in a few more players, to add to the depth of the squad. I think Charlie Allen, as I mentioned, I think that's an exciting signing. I think he's a player can do damage up front, in the final third. Bring that sort of attacking flair, and probably replace a player like Jordan Stewart, who was very popular here and did very well. So I think also the players coming back into the team from injury, likes of Ewan East coming back into the team, I think that's really important. Stevie Fallon, we've mentioned, has been a fantastic player for this club, but he just hasn't played enough games. So I think there is real strength there in the back. There's strength in the midfield. Up front, we also hope to see Robbie McDade back maybe in the next month or 2. Robbie is again a player of great ability, but has been hampered by injury during his whole career here. So hopefully he can get back and be the player he was before injury.
We recently won an appeal there to have fans back in the stadium. Just how important is that to have fans here? Because crucially, you know, we weren't allowed all fans here for the 2 crucial games in the split that you spoke about there.
Yeah, listen, this has been a huge issue for the club, and we as a club acknowledge that, you know, some of our fans have let us down. There has been some misconduct, which we don't want here. But we thought it was really, really important that we fought this case, that we took the appeal, because really to be punished for a game over which we had no control in terms of ticket sales or security, I think was totally wrong. So we took the appeal forward because our genuine fans here, our loyal members and season ticket holders are here week in, week out, and we thought it was important that they were here today. So we won the appeal on all counts. So today, all our fans can come to the game here today, and I think that's so important for the club that the fans are here, get behind the team, and hopefully pushes on to the 3 points. But we'll always stand up and fight for this club and fight for our supporters. But it is also important that, you know, there are no further incidents here, because we do still have that suspended sentence in terms of ground closure hanging over us until December.
There's a SOM visit, I believe, now coming up in the end of August. Tell the fans a little bit about that and what's going to be happening.
Yeah, it's an exciting trip for the academy. I think we've had 3 academy teams over to the SOM region before, but this has been the first one since our new memorial has been erected in Bertrancourt. So the under-15s are travelling over at the end of this month. They're playing in a 3-team tournament with Leyton Orient and the local club in Albert in France. So it's a part sporting visit, part educational. You know, we'll take the lads round some of the memorials they're both in Belgium and in northern France, taken to Bertrancourt to pay our respects there, and then hopefully the lads will do well in the tournament. But there's also a partnership growing there between ourselves, Leyton Orient and Hearts, who are the 3 British clubs with memorials now in northern France in the Somme region. So that partnership is going really, really well, and I think it'll bring further tournaments and further visits in the future for all 3 clubs.
Just one final thing then before I let you both go. Your prediction for today's game, Matthew, I'll start with you.
I think Linfield win 3-0.
And Roy, yourself?
I'm always cautious about predictions, but I think Dungannon have caused us problems here, so I think they're probably likely to score. Hopefully only score 1, but I think Linfield probably win 3-1.
Well, thanks very much, both of you, for joining us this afternoon. And I'll just remind you that if you're not available to make today's match, that the stream is on live on linfieldtv.com for a price of £10. And thank you very much for joining us today, and we'll hopefully see you back again next week.
Good job. Well done, lads.
You should have got a yellow card for diving. Brilliant, thank you. So for next Saturday, man, if you look, maybe get that into the lounges, I think that'll be really good.
That'd be a good job, yeah.
Make get people in earlier.
Right, stream it up there for them.
Yeah.